Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Have you seen The Plot Against the President yet? You should. This is the new documentary by Amanda Milius, who is the daughter of the great Hollywood screenwriter and director John Milius. By the way, there's an excellent documentary on John Milius that is also available on Amazon that you should see. It's about 5 or 6 years old, but details his storied career as a bit of an iconoclast in Hollywood, and good for him. I mean, this is the guy who won an Academy Award for co-authoring the screenplay to Apocalypse Now. He directed The Red Dawn, the initial one. He directed The Wind and the Lion with Sean Connery, which is a vastly underrated movie. Conan the Barbarian. So talking about Hollywood royalty here, even though I think based on their political perspectives, they're not treated like Hollywood royalty. No. Here's the trailer.
But you could make a whole movie on the Russiagate hoax. It's all documented.
There was an illusion being created using the most awesome tools and the greatest tricks that the American intelligence community had learned to use against our enemies. Now it was being deployed against the American people and our president.
This is the biggest political scandal in modern history, which makes Watergate look like a tiff.
A political dirty trick is being carried out by our intelligence community.
Honestly, none of us really know, sort of holistically, what to think about this dossier.
They went into Congress. They said, there's nothing here. Doesn't matter. We'll keep going with FISA. We'll keep going with the investigation. And more importantly, we will go on TV day in and day out and lie to the American people to their face. And nothing's going to happen to us.
The nation and all of our freedoms hang by a thread. And the military apparatus of this country is about to be handed over to scum who are beholden to scum. Russian scum.
We had not one person claim that they had or had seen evidence of Trump colluding with the Russians.
Devin Nunes was the hero in the forest. He was alone, he was mocked, he was attacked.
Devin Nunes was subject to such scorn for saying the conclusions that we brought forth in that report, which all proved to be true.
Yeah, and Devin Nunes comes off very well, as is long overdue. Adam Schiff comes off exactly how he actually is. And really sober analysis from very good reporters who were on this from the beginning, like John Solomon, our friend over at justthenews.com. And you heard also his distinctive voice, Sebastian Gorka, one of those interviewed for the film. You know, this is an example of what we talk about with Andrew Klavan all the time. We need to have work product in these entertainment spaces so as to get the truth out around the institutional blocks that exist for people who don't submit to the leftist orthodoxy. And this is a great offering in that vein. Pleased to be joined now by Amanda Milius, director of The Plot Against the President, former member of the Trump administration about the State Department and the White House. Amanda, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the film.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be with you guys.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think the way that you broke it out with with help from, as I mentioned, the likes of Devin Nunes, provides an easy to follow sort of linear progression to what did happen over the last 3.5 years, and it's sort of remarkable because I was sort of left with, good grief, you had sort of a Mr. Smith goes against the deep state with Devin Nunes, and but for Devin Nunes, are we even at this place, as frustrating as the place is with the lack of accountability in the upper reaches of some of these agencies, are we even at a place where we have any idea what happened without, number one, Trump's victory, but number two, Devin Nunes's pursuit of the truth?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that Lee Smith, who wrote the book that the documentary is based on, says frequently, if it was not for Devin Nunes and his team, nobody would have known what really happened. And certainly, I think if the president hadn't won in 2016, that was always the plan. I think that we would certainly have never known the extent of the crimes, and none of this would have been uncovered.
Well, how did they use, extra constitutional means to undermine the election?
Well, I mean, they just never accepted it. I think what's clear is that it went basically, the Russiagate hoax to me, and what I think a couple people in the film say is really, it went from being an offensive operation to a defensive one, because once the president won, then it became an agenda to prevent anyone from finding out what had been done, the crimes that had been committed, the abuses of power that had been committed. And a lot of that is specifically told through the story of what happened to Michael Flynn, because he was targeted both because they had significant policy, meaning they, as in the Obama administration, the sort of Democratic national security powerhouse writ large, had a policy disagreement with him on a macro scale, but also he, being the national security advisor, would have been the exact person, and having the background in intelligence that he had, he would have been the exact person to uncover their crimes. And so that's why he was targeted so blatantly, and continues to be targeted to this day.
Yeah, that was a really interesting case study. This is an important point. So what happens after he wins, and now they have to sort of paper over what they did. So one is getting Flynn out of the way, because as a former DNI under Obama, he knew too much. And then secondly, Jim Comey, when Jim Comey is taken out of the way by Trump, ultimately, now they have to do some backfilling of the role that Jim Comey was playing. So explain how that played out.
Yeah, it's interesting because actually when you take this 30,000-foot view and you step back, I mean, a lot of people look at this and they're like, well, I think I know what happened in Russiagate. I've been watching the news, like, I don't need to see this. And really, you do, because you can't see the chess moves of, a move by the administration and then a move by, the counterforce. You don't really see the strategy behind that until you see it all together in a overhead view. And clearly, when it really activated them, when the president fired Comey, because he was their last guy on the inside who could, getting rid of Flynn was step one, but step two was making sure that Comey was able to hide their crimes and basically create a distraction by this whole Russia thing, which is a complete hoax, to distract from that. And then when they lost him, trying to put Mueller in, that was something that I didn't really understand, that relationship, until I made the film and did the interviews, was that he was selected for a very specific reason. Mueller was not an accident. Mueller was not, and a lot of people talk about his history with Comey, but it's really very interesting when you look at the timing of when Mueller had initially gone in for his interview to be FBI director. The president said thanks but no thanks. 24 hours later, he's appointed as the special counsel.
That's such a key point, and so the play is, okay, backfill our guy Bob as FBI since Jim Comey's gone, and then when that doesn't work out, now we go to our guy Rod to get Mueller appointed the special prosecutor.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one after another, and I think if I hadn't worked in D.C. as an outsider perspective, outsider person. I had no intention of ever working in the government in my life. I happened to have volunteered for the Trump campaign in 2016, and then I got hired. And I think seeing the way D.C. works from a perspective of a not political, non-D.C. person, it really, I really believe that is how they operate, because I saw it up close, and it's really unbelievable. I mean, the corruption is so widespread. There's so many people in this. It doesn't surprise me that there were that many bad actors. Let's just put it that way.
Is there an ability to even figure out where the impulses for the careerists to protect each other ends and the ideological opposition to the president begins, or does it just all run together?
Well, I think part of it is it's sort of almost, in a sense, a natural progression of our system that needs to be checked. Because if we basically say that we change administrations every 4 to 8 years, these institutions are here for much longer than that. And so the reason they become loyal to the institutions instead of to the administrations that they are supposed to be taking, direction from, is because, I mean, self-preservation and it's just a natural, organic growth that needs to be checked. And I think it's something that at this point has gone to, it's at emergency levels. The loyalty to the institutions versus to the country and to, the presidency and the executive.
Well, and the other piece of this, right? This doesn't happen without Devin Nunes's initiative and his willingness to endure all the ridicule and worse. It also doesn't happen without sort of alternative news outlets outside of the established D.C. press corps, like John Solomon and what he was reporting for The Hill before he started JustTheNews.com, and Kim Strassel at the Wall Street Journal, and filmmakers like yourself now. This doesn't get out without people picking up what somebody like a Devin Nunes and other House Republicans were doing and trying to put the pieces together for the public.
No, absolutely, and I think that's very clear. It's one of the reasons that I included some of the lesser known, more kind of unusual social media figures in the film. I've had a couple of people, ask me about that, and it's because they got it right. If it wasn't for social media and journalists like the ones that you mentioned, absolutely, we would not know that this happened. And also, if it were not for the complicity of the mainstream media, this operation would not have succeeded, because the intelligence agencies and the FBI can do all the kinds of corrupt, activities that they want, but it wouldn't have duped the entire country into thinking that there was some connection between the Trump administration, the Trump campaign, and Russia, had the mainstream media not beat that into people's heads every day for 3 years and continue for 4 years. So there, as much as it's if we didn't have these independent sources and journalists and folks who were saying the truth, we wouldn't know what had happened. But on the alternative, I mean, it's the mainstream media is just as complicit as these corrupt agencies.
Yeah, they're an agency in itself. I haven't seen it yet, Amanda, and I'm going to go to specialproject.io or go to Movies Plus. But did you reach out or did you talk to Christopher Steele at all?
He's pretty hard to find.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's found him, but I'm just saying if.
Yeah, I mean, of all the people, I'm not a journalist. I did my due diligence in reaching out to people as much as I could find them to get comment. But he's got a pretty cold trail, and we made this in about. I think we made this in under 100 days. Wow. Because it's completely insane, a totally insane timeline. But so I certainly didn't have time to be the one person that finds the missing man.
Yeah, no one can find him.
Yeah, I think he, Julian Assange, and Hunter Biden rented a house somewhere, and so they're trying to keep a low profile. Yeah.
Right, exactly. One note I should mention, people can watch the movie on Amazon and Amazon Prime now as well, and it's free on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's where I watched it, yep.
Right. Yeah, and it's on Vimeo on demand. It's on the 2 subscription channels that you mentioned, which are great because they're free speech friendly. They both are subscription channels, My Movies Plus and Special Project, that launched with the movie, and they are, as I said, free speech platforms that are going to be big in the coming days. And Vimeo on demand and Amazon Prime for rent, purchase, and watching it free.
And what was your dad's review of your movie? Got to get him to weigh.
He's actually very excited about it because, he's retired at this point, and he's very on top of the news. He doesn't miss an episode of Hannity, Tucker, all the Lou Dobbs. Like he's very interested in this. When I was working in DC and I would come home, he'd always want the inside scoop. He'd be like, "What's happening with this?" So he's totally excited about it, and he really likes it. So that's good.
Well, all right. So everybody do a Milius Film Festival this weekend. Go watch Milius, which is the documentary on Amanda's dad, John, a Hollywood legend, and then watch A Plot Against the President, Amanda's film about Devin Nunes playing his Mr. Smith goes up against the deep state role and everything that transpired. And if Trump wins a second term and the Durham investigation finally is completed, then you'll have a ready-made sequel for this, Amanda.
Yes, I hope so. I mean, for the sake of the country, I really hope. Nobody really knows how this story is going to end. So I certainly hope that that some kind of justice happens, because really, if you let people get away with this, they won't stop doing it. And people do what they can get away with, especially these agencies.
Amanda Milius, director of The Plot Against the President, former member of the Trump administration, both at the State Department and the White House. Again, the film is on all those outlets that Amanda mentioned, starting with Amazon Prime for easy use. Amanda Milius, thanks so much for joining us. Continued success with the film.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Today's world requires first-hand knowledge of real international working. As a successful international businessman, I have achieved many goals and made many business friends abroad. International business can rebuild the middle class by creating the infrastructure to support small businesses through economic development funds and international expansion. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. Vote for me. Send me to Washington. God bless.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm State Representative Deanne Mazzocchi. I believe now more than ever, we need to be investing in our future and focusing on issues that are important, like safe schools, safe streets, and helping our seniors. I'm a mom, and I stood up to the Madigan machine and said no to Springfield treating you like their personal ATM. Together, we can get Illinois on track to a brighter tomorrow for you and your families. I'm Deanne Mazzocchi, and I'm asking for your vote today.
Paid for by Citizens for Mazzocchi.